O Ealavan, who saw the glory of Eledria, I would know of these things thou beheld, for I knew by my oath, I was driven to understand and seek out that which needs be remembered in the coming days.
Vilvi the Dreamless, Alua, Arave. You stirred awakeness, slowly drifting up from the tenebrous clutches of your dream, until at last your eyes open and the world becomes real once more. Naelin is beside you, pushed up against you as her body trembles. Her hands reach around, shaking, trying to close around your back, weakly pull you closer.
I'll wrap an arm around her and pull her in tighter.
El. A soft whisper, hot breath warming your face in the chill of the morning.
How did you rest, Lynn?
Poorly, she stammers. She closes her eyes, clenching, unclenching, pain racking her body again. Very poorly. The pain. Everything hurts. Ill. She reaches down and then shakes her head. Choking on words, she just buries her head against your chest.
I'll give her a gentle pats and rubs on the back of her head and hold her tightly.
She trembles against you for a second, and then pulls away, looking up at you. My dreams are strange, Ill.
Are they bad?
Terrible. So terrible. She shudders again.
I nod.
She speaks quietly, as to not wake the others near to you. I can't stop worrying. I can't stop remembering.
I nod. Don't think about remembering right now.
It's so hard.
I nod.
It's all so vivid. As though it just happened.
I nod. It will fade.
Will it though?
I nod.
How can you be so sure?
Because I've been through that.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I nod.
I'm so tired.
I understand, Lynn. It's hard.
I don't even have the comfort of the others. They're gone now. Her hands are trembling even more violently now. And I can't stop shaking. It doesn't stop even for a second. Ill? What's wrong with me?
It's the pain, the fear, the worry.
It's not just that. Something's wrong. her.
Tell me about it.
I feel so cold, but my body is not freezing. And there's pain, almost as deep as the bone. And every time I go to move, I just shake.
Gently, she brings one of her hands around. You can see it's trembling violently, the fingers shaking. He holds it up in front of her face. Go ahead.
I'll take that hand in mine.
It continues to shake as you hold it, trembling back and forth.
I try to steady them, but they won't. It gets to the point where I can't even grip anything.
I'm not. It'll take time.
Will it, though?
I'm not.
Say time heals all wounds, but that's not true.
No.
If time could heal all wounds, then somewhere in the far future I would have my leg back. But that's not true, is it?
I shake my head. Time can't heal all wounds, Lynn. But it facilitates healing.
Why does the facilitation have to be so slow?
She sobs again, putting her head against your chest.
I wish it were different.
So do I. But what good is wishing? When a wish is no more than fantasy.
I'm not.
I think I would have said that a wish is more ethereal than even the Elu. But we both know that's not true.
As she blanches, narrowing her eyebrows, closing her eyes.
I'm not.
The moment I lose my strength, you have found your own. Why is that?
I shake my head. You'll find strength again, Lynn.
Where? Not in my body. Not in my mind. My mind. It's such a horrible place, Hill.
I nod slowly. Perhaps we don't know where you'll find the strength, but you'll know it when you do, Lynn.
Violent tremors running up her body. She reaches behind her back again, as best she can, clasping her hands there. They shake around. You feel them, a bit cold. The surface of them moving with strange spasms across your own flesh. She buries her head in your neck. You can smell her. That strange odor. Flower. Blossoms, dirt. The smoke of a campfire. The scent of sweat. A strange mix. And then she looks up to you, blinking through tears.
I'm so thankful for you. I don't know what I would do without you.
That's why I'm here with you, Lynn.
She nods. I guess the day should begin, shouldn't it? She
I'll look
reaches
up to the sky.
She gently kisses the side of your neck as you look up to the sky. Dry lips moving roughly across your skin. Time of Avine has almost come. The others are stirring in the camp, coming to wakefulness.
Would you like to watch it?
She shakes her head. No, not now.
I nod.
It would only hurt my eyes. She
Then
looks down. Go ahead.
I'll keep her nestled against my neck. Then we'll stay like this till it passes.
You hear Arlessi yawn not too far away from you. You hear her pushing herself up. Strange noises. Owning the stress of age. She sits up. He watches the older woman in her long, baggy clothing twists her back and forth, grimacing all the while. Gerlan is still sleeping beside her, snoring contentedly. She looks over at the man, and then, with a soft smile on her face, she she puts her fingers over the man's nose and pinches down. Gerlan splutters, eyes opening, trembling a bit himself as he comes to wakefulness. She gives a laugh, the two of them cursing back and forth. Aelin looks at you. A small smile on her face, nothing more.
Time to rise.
She nods. The sounds of the morning are prevalent, all of it mixed with a light wind coming in from the southwest. A chilly breeze blown from the sea. Arlessi stands up and turns to look at the two of you. Seeing that you're awake, her eyes narrow as she smiles. Ah, you're awake, traveler. Good, good.
One more night made it through.
She nods. The best we can do. One night at a time.
I'll nod, get up, helping up Aelin.
Aelin trembles. You help her up to sit. Helping her up to stand's impossible at this point. Her leg shakes too violently. The morning light rises over the horizon as Oyuna greets the world with her beautiful glow. Gerlan turns then. Aye, I reckon we should get some breakfast together and make our way back along the northern road. What says you, fellow traveler? He says, grinning.
I'll think for a moment. The northern road's the passage that we are going to be taking, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the only road you could take at the
True.
moment. Comes to a crossroad where it goes off towards, I believe, Enshire and Ilin.
Yes.
But they're going not to Ilin, but they're taking the crossword road a bit westward towards the Eidwash and towards the small hamlet of Nalwa.
Yeah. Ah, yes, here. I see it. Make sure I have this.
Well, fellow
Yes.
vagabond, he says, grinning.
I'll smile and nod.
Shall we convene for a meager meal? What will you give to the people this day, I wonder?
I'll stretch and nod. I have some cheese and some preserved vegetables, some meat.
He nods. I got the last little bit of cowberry milk. We can have a go at before it spoils. Throw that in the pot with some flour. Perhaps something else to thicken the pot. Nothing too much more than just a light porridge. Some cheese would be welcome, though.
I'll nod.
Our lessee has moved over to Letty, or sorry, to Telly. Get the name backwards. She's picked up the little girl and is cradling her in her arms, going to her. Girl's face is pale, nose, cheeks blushed red with the cold of the morning. The other two have stirred. The daughter, the older brother. Gerland is already about the makings of a fire. He has already hung his black kettle over the top of it, filling it with water from the nearby pond.
I'll get some of the food together that I was going to get. Vegetable preserves, bit of meat, and some cheese. Bring it over for the communal pot. Well, not pot per se, but for breakfast.
All right. All right. You go about the fixings of what you will bring.
I think I'll put some tea on too.
Doing what else? Tea?
Yes.
You probably have enough for another 3 days worth. If you're only making like 2 cups a day, then you will run out.
I'll make note.
You put on tea, bring over cheese. He breaks bread, adding pieces of it to the pot as well to thicken the porridge. And then some foraged roots, chopped, thrown in as well. Tubers mostly. Deep-rooted. The kind which makes for little taste, but fills the belly. In the meantime, Aelin sits the best she can. She has to lean sideways, unable to support herself. At least in a straightward manner. She constantly tilts to the right side of her body, awkwardly. But she compensates for this. Arlessi looks at her, a sad smile on her face, and then looks back to you. She bring over the food close. Aye, how's she doing? The woman whispers.
I'll give a nod. Each day a little bit. Slow though.
It would be. That kind of thing can take years, let alone days or months. She seems strong enough, but her spirits are down, lad. Have you thought of any way to try and bring them up?
A nod.
They can't all just
Talk.
be soft words. You have to show her a little bit more than just utterances.
A nod. I think I have the plan.
Aye, good lad. Make sure it's a good plan. Nothing can be worse than something like that going awry when someone's already in a bad enough state. Gerland looks over the two of you. What are you two cohorting about? You have some sort of devilish plan? He grins, unless he smiles at him. Oh, shut up, you yap, you old fool. Come, let's have breakfast. Help the girl over. She's probably deadly hungry.
I'll make my way over to Halen.
Ayla lifts up her arms.
I'll stoop over and help her get up and pick her up. Come, Lynn.
She looks a bit ashamed about this, but then just pushes her head against your shoulder as you carry her over. Once you're before the fire, all of you gather about. Velnet is currently has her arms wrapped about Telly, who's shivering. The little girl sneezes. Aelin looks very concerned, watching the girl. In the meantime, Gerlan turns to you. Aye, it would rightly be best if we stripped down that old cart of yours. We don't
I nod.
want to draw attention. Eh,
I've got something good to help pull the varnish, but you're welcome to part of the silver if you want to help me pull it off.
At that, he nods. You would be so gracious. It should be us giving you, or, well, more the food from our stock, it seems. Grins. As long as you won't want nothing for it, I'd be willing to be partial to a bit of it. He looks a bit apprehensive then, thinking, you don't want anything for it, do you? He narrows his eyes, a bit distrustingly at that.
I'll pause and tap my chin. Shared company on the road. Sharing food, I'll bring in my equal part.
Lad, that silver there is enough to eat comfortably for a month or more.
I nod.
You
I
sure
was
that's
thinking
all
of
you
looking
want,
down.
then? Well, we could be about that. I've
I
done
pause.
enough of it. My fair time.
Perhaps I can pay a little more if need be to procure lodging.
There'll be lodging enough, I reckon. I'm sure we can find a place for you when we get to where we're going.
I nod.
It's not that far after all. I reckon maybe 4 or 5 days travel. If we make good time and the weather is pleasant.
I'd be willing to part ways with silver for good service.
He nods. He looks down at your shoes, and then gives a devilish grin. Well, you see, lad, perhaps there is something I can do, and in a way it'll help with the drudging, the slowness of the journey. Those there look a little bit holy, not in the way that the priesthood would prefer.
I'll give a glance down at my boots.
They are not the best for wear, having been put through a lot in the past couple weeks. Well, the past week and a half, it should be said. Well, I
I'll nod.
reckon, as well, serviceable as my services may be, they may be wasted on such a pair of loafers as those, but I'm sure that we can tighten them right up. They don't seem to fit you well. Never been to a cobbler?
Can't say I've gotten them well fit.
He nods. I can tell. I don't have all the proper tools here. Well, not the matter of tools, it's the matter of materials that I reckon I'm missing. But I can see what I can do. At the very least, we can re-nail and possibly tighten them up a bit. It'll help with any of the chafe of the walk. Not that it seems you need much of that. You got calluses on your hand, boy. He grins. A working merchant, then.
I've done my share of labor before. No stranger to it.
I ain't never seen no merchant's son with calluses half as thick as those, he says, nodding. And what strange markings, too. Is that done on purpose? He says, looking at your fingertips.
I'll look down at my fingertips. How do the scars look?
They're silvery, as they're on the hands. Typically, that skin is thinner. Small silver lines cut vertically down each tip of the finger, where they were drained of the excess of blood that welled in the extremities. You still have a bit of lack of feeling in the tips of your fingers, it should be said, and they get awfully cold compared to the rest of your hands. You don't cover them.
It was done some time ago by a medica.
Aye. He looks to Telly. I wish there was a medica here now. What I would pay, I can't even express. He grimaces. Unless he tots. Enough of that talk, Gerlan. Focus on what we can do, what we can change. For now, we just have to keep her warm near the fire. I'm sure it will pass in a few days. As long as the weather holds out. Gerland looks to the sky, nodding. Aye, it's been quite good to us so far. Let's hope that holds up. He looks to you then. I don't reckon your horse can last much longer in its current condition. Maybe, if it was put out to pasture, allowed to graze for a while, it might make it maybe a year, maybe a little less. But soon it'll be not more but meat.
I nod. A good fleece would do me better.
I reckon having the money to purchase a fleece round these parts. Reckon anyone given away in the middle of winter when a fleece can feed for a month or more. Full family at that too, not just one lone man.
I nod. I'm looking for someone to settle for a while.
Aye, I reckon you're heading in the good direction then. Plenty of places. Near to the Eidwash. Largest tributary that runs into the main river all the way down to Damascus, they say. Luckily, it doesn't run as far north as Ilin. That would be bad, that. You'd have people coming down from the big city. Though
I
still,
grimace.
some make that trip to the tributaries.
I'll welcome a bit of a change of pace.
He nods. During all of this, you are eating. Aelin as well. She eats very slowly, carefully, not wanting to regurgitate anything she forces down. The whole while she leans against you, her body always touching or pressed to yours. Her hands tremble, but she goes slow enough that it isn't a problem. You notice that our lassie keeps looking to her, looking her up and down, gauging her. The woman seems kind enough, but also a bit shrewd. And you notice that the younger daughter is also giving you, or sorry, the older daughter is also giving you strange looks. The still yet unnamed one. She's a bit prettier than Aelin. That similar Vene way, the hawk nose, longer ears, the slimmer face, the long neck, the pale skin. But her eyes are black, dark, deep.
I don't think we've been introduced yet.
She gives a shy little nod. I'm Velnet, she says. She gives a soft smile.
I'll give a nod.
I'm Killian.
Killian? I thought you said your name was Carol.
Carol's my surname. Father's name.
She nods. Killian Carol? That's
I
a
nod.
strange name, that. But I guess I
Father's a
reckon you're
strange
not
man.
from here.
I shake my head.
In the
Father had a bit of the
meantime,
old.
God,
Father had a bit of the old fashioned sense to him.
Belnett nods, looking away, not quite opening her eyes. At that, Gerland stands. I know if you happen, you two. Come, young man, let us get to the work of the cart. It'll take a bit, and I don't want to waste more light than we've got. He moves over to your cart, begins eyeing
Oh,
the silver fastenings and the black lacquer across the wood.
I'll keep Aelin sturdy and step up to go over as well. Gonna go fetch out the lathe.
You fetch the lathe, moving away from Aelin. You watch as Arlessi walks over, sitting down next to her. You watch as Aelin's eyes dart to you quickly, a bit frantically, but then they grow softer as Arlessi puts a hand on her shoulder gently. Gerland looks behind him at the two as the two of you walk over to the cart. I reckon let the women talk. Might be good for her.
I nod. I think she could use to hear more voices than mine.
I reckon that is a little bit of wisdom, my lad. You seem bright enough, he says, grinning, but I guess you have to be shrewd as a merchant's son. People probably always try to haggle and, well, barter you out of your business.
A nod.
I myself understand that business a bit, having to barter for leathers whenever I can get them. Hopefully back to that work sooner than later.
Hopefully. I'd certainly appreciate your business.
He nods. You take out the lathe, and he himself takes out some of his tools, most likely kept for the making of shoes, things to cut leather. Still, these are good enough to scrape off the lacquer on the side of the wood. And he gets to work on the fastenings. The silver filigree is, well, it's something like a plate screwed into the wood. A hammer design on both sides of the cart, about 1.5 feet across. Thin, not raised, still good silver. He pries at it, moving at it as he speaks. Aye. So, you serious? You're gonna go all the way to Nalwa with us?
A nod.
He nods. It's a humble enough community. It's made up mostly of grain farmers and a few old tradesmen send their wares down the Eidwash. And a few small families that owe their service to the Lord of Ilin. Serfs and whatnot.
It sounds like an honest enough place.
It is. And the Lord of Ilin is just when it comes to the overseeing of his domain. Ertlen Ilushal is his name. Good Lord. My son has sent word over the years that his tax is fair enough. He's kept the land out of the hands of the Irish as well. Belonged to his father, you see. Man wasn't Irish, not in the least. Wasn't Venorian either. Probably why he kept his land.
A nod. Man of his own names.
I, I reckon the Ilishals are decent enough people. As far as, well, nobility goes, he says, spitting. We've been lucky in Enshire. The Cassilians have never been anything but just in their reign. Good people. William's liked well enough. Though his father's a bit of a bumkus.
I'll nod. I've seen William once.
Aye? He looks to you then. Strange look on his face. You keep
In a passing
accountants
by.
with lords?
I shake my
Ah,
head.
just unseeing then. I see.
Seems
Not
like good enough folk for nobility.
for nobility, he says with a grim smile. Hard to get, hard to get good people as far as nobility is concerned. I couldn't imagine living in Daskis or Red Tower
And a nod.
or Moriel, he says with a shiver. I can't imagine being under such a, well, under the church. You have me.
Yes, I catch your meaning.
He nods. Don't owe my allegiance here, nor there. What about you? You believe?
I pause for a moment. My father used to, but I never really quite found the words for it.
I said that. Quite tallish of you. Not taking a position is precisely what the Idavars always seem to do.
I nod.
What are your thoughts on the Idavar?
I'd always wanted to go south sometime.
He nods. Yeah, possibly could take a ship as far as Tarvin if you had the right color of coin. I doubt that kind of voyage is cheap.
I shake my head. It's a long-winded dream is what it is.
He nods. I reckon. I always thought about going to the Alarm myself, getting accreditation and whatnot. But I reckoned, Gerlan, you're old. People already give you enough business. An accreditation do. Especially with all the Irish about. They seem to detest that type of thing.
Yeah, I give a nod, and along with that,
The two of you continue scraping the side of the old carriage. This is a strange bit of work, this. Bit of Lord's work, he says, looking at it. Fine ware. You didn't carry wares in this, did you? It's not
I,
built for
sh-
that type of thing.
I shake my head. It's all that I had much left in my father's personal stock.
Well, good you got something thrown over it at least. Have some sense about you. Otherwise, well, everything in the back would get ruined quite quick. Best to keep the moisture away from the bread so it doesn't get the mold in it.
Nod. If it had a cover, it'd suit a lot better, but I think a different cart would just do best.
I reckon you could trade this for any cart or carriage you preferred as long as it wasn't fancy work. Something a little more practical, perhaps. Though you'll find hard pressed to find anything like that where we're going. People don't want to part with their, well, that type of thing. It's a long enough journey from Nalwa to Ilin. People make it time and time again when they have to go to market. Though most prefer to go down the Eidwash to Enshire, but I reckon that path's no longer open. They'll probably have barred the river.
Certainly closing off a lot of the big routes.
Aye, lucky we got out of Enshire when we did.
I nod.
Where it's going around the Daskus is completely under the finger of the Duchessa. They've got
Is
all
it
it. They've got everything closed off down there. They don't even let ships in the harbor right now. And those
shake my
ships
head.
that came in the harbor aren't allowed out. She's got the whole place just tight as, well, as tight as a... He breathes a bit heavier and then just nods. Never mind.
Luckily, we got our tails stuck between our legs and left.
He nods. What exactly were you trading in again? I don't remember rightly. If you
I'll
said that was.
a nod.
My father always had a penchant for selling wines and pipeweed.
Wines and pipeweed. Expensive stuff.
A nod. Good stuff.
He nods. The two of you finish. Took about an hour to get through all of it. But Cyril Kren kept his lathe sharp, and Gerland's tools are well cared for. When you're done, the man wipes sweat away from his brow, and your fingers ache. You put down the tools. Gerland looks behind him to where the two women are still talking. You see that Aelin is a bit animated, chatting quietly, a soft smile on her face. Gerland grins to you, conferring. Looks like she brightened up a little bit.
I'm happy to see it.
Perhaps you should stop, well, I've heard the way you talk to her, boy. You've got to be a little less down. Two downs don't make an up, he says, grinning.
I think I see what you mean.
Even if it's forced. Maybe a little bit more optimism. He grins, tapping the card. Now, I reckon I'll be taking my silver. And tonight, when we settle, I'll take a look at your shoes. See what we can get done.
I'll hold a hand out to shake.
Good business.
He takes it in turn, shaking twice in the fashion of the Vede. Good business indeed. Though I reckon I did you a bit dirty on the transaction. And again, he says, looking up and down, I say you've got more than a few coins stashed away, no matter what you say.
I shrug, give a smile.
Sort of a card as rich as this. Lord's work, this. He grins. No
I'll
more,
look for the
though.
card.
Looks a little bit more like a miser's lord now. Looks like a man who spent too much money on Daskian wine. The horse fits it at least now. Doesn't look so out of place. That's good. Well, I best reckon that we don't waste time. I go get my cart set up and ready to go. Let's hope your horse has got the gall to pull that cart up the hill. Otherwise, you may be for pushing for a while.
I'll
They won't.
prepare for it.
He nods. He stands, moving back over. He goes over and talks to his son, to his daughter for a second.
I'll put my tools away and then head over to Aelin.
Unless he stands, seeing you come over, dusting off her dress. She nods. All right, I guess I'll take my leave then. She grins. You see that Aelin is holding, in her hands, a few slightly stained wrappings of cloth. Unless he nods. Wash those when you get the chance. They should be helping, though. I understand what it's like. I've been there before myself. She moves over with Gerlan to help prepare, set up everything that's needed. Aelin turns to you, a soft smile on her face. Have you come to help me up on the cart?
A
Let's go, Lynn.
You seem in a good mood.
I nod. We'll have some lodging when we get there.
Are we
Place
sure?
to settle. I nod. We'll settle for a little while.
In the first place we come to, shouldn't we explore options?
I'll nod. We'll see what we can find. If need be, we'll continue.
She nods. I would like to be optimistic, but unfortunately, I find myself being more pedantic by the day. She lifts her hands. Help me, please.
I'll get her up.
Her arms are still trembling, even when she was talking to Arlessi. That didn't stop for a second. She reaches up, and you, picking her up, helping her over to the cart.
What do you think? I'll gesture to the cart with my head.
It looks sufficiently highwayman proof.
I'll chuckle and nod.
I'm gonna need your help, she whispers. She blushes at that. She looks to the cloth she's holding in her hands. I don't know if I can tighten it down.
Oh. I'll nod.
It's for my bleeding, she says, grimacing at that.
Just guide me through how you want it.
She nods, blushing even deeper. Okay. The two of you make your way back over to the cart. And then she looks at you. Now, if that would be okay?
I nod. I'll take the wrappings.
Gently, she pulls up her dress, the barest amount, to reveal what was already wrapped there. It's stained, dark brown blood, some of it on her thighs as well. You can see that here and there redness has appeared on her pale legs, where a rash has begun to form. She grimaces. Is there anything we can use to wash?
I nod. I'll go fetch a rag and get it slightly damp to help clean up.
She looks over at the opposing cart. Good, they're busy. All right. Shaking, trembling, she spreads her thighs. You yourself feel heat rushing to your cheeks. I'd probably best to throw this away. She nods down at the rags already wrapped about her. Can you cut the sides? It'll be easier than trying to pull it off.
I nod. I'll take out my knife and carefully cut the sides.
You cut the sides. There's such a smell there. Uncomfortable. Dried old blood. Smells of iron. Another strange scent mixed into it. She grimaces. Look to her womanhood. Blood is caked on it as well, where it's dried across her labia. A bit of it stuck in the hair of her crotch.
How would you like me to help?
She grimaces. She looks down to her shaking hands. I won't be able to grasp the cloth. Just gently scrub it clean. She blushes and looks the other direction.
quickly if you can.
I'll nod and I'll begin trying to be very careful.
You clean her as best you can, wiping away dried blood and other, well, less seemly forms of discharge. When you're done, she nods, gently closing her thighs together, and then grimaces. Oh, I guess the wrapping too.
And I nod.
She reopens her thighs, her right trembling violently, her left a little more steady. She brings one of her hands down, placing it on her right thigh, gripping it tightly, grimacing. Stop. Please. Please. She looks down at it. Calm. Please. She massages it with a shaking hand, but the trembling of her leg runs up her arm, violent trebling running across her body. She grimaces. It's cold, Il.
I nod. Let's get these wrappings on. I'll put them on the same way as last time.
You wrap the cloth. Holding one taper, you pull it up and in between her legs, and then wrapping around her waist, you fasten it in place, tying it at the corner of her side as best you can, as you have nothing to pin it down with. Once you're done, she quickly closes her thighs, and then pulls her dress down as best she can. She doesn't meet your eyes, blush running to her cheeks as she stares off. Gerland calls from the other cart. All right. Well, we'll go up the hill first. Is our animals more steady than yours? And then if need be, I'll send Gamerd, or I'll send, let me find his name real quick. I think it's, Gamar. It's Gamar. I'll send Gamar to help, if you need help pushing. I don't reckon that, though. It's not that steep.
I'll nod. Give a look to the hill.
It isn't that steep indeed. A shallow incline, leading up. Not that tall either. The vale on the other side is a deeper slope. This side of the slope is far more, what's the word? Neutral. You take the reins. Zaylin sits beside you, leaning against you. You keep her on your left side so she can lean on you with her right. One hand reaches out, trembling, placed on your thigh. The other hand reaches up gently to run through her hair, a few strands breaking away in her palm. She grimaces as she looks down at them. Will you help me tonight? To brush?
I'll nod and smile. However you'd like it. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Il.
You're welcome, then.
She closes her eyes. I love you, Ilnir.
I love you too, Aelin.
She smiles softly at that. Mairame.
I'll smile and nod.
Magalin.
I'll wrap an arm around her.
Gently hold the reins with one hand, her with the other. The cart makes its way up the very shallow incline, coming to the top easily enough. No need to push. The road is rutted. It's been a wet season. The mud that tracks across it has dried. Much of it has run off the side of the road, left and right, creating slight inclines where the erosion is torn away at the plant life near to the road. Nothing more than a few old bushes converge on the road's surface. Here and there through the dirt, maybe a stalk of brown grass sticks up proudly. It soon is bent and bowed by the wheels of the wagon as it crosses. You follow behind the cart of Gerlin and Arlessi. Aelin watches them. They seem quite normal. Actually, no, that's a lie. They're quite peculiar.
I nod. I'd almost prefer it.
Not peculiar in a peculiar way. Peculiar in a way that they are so friendly. I've never seen people so receptive to strangers.
I'll think back on my time with my father. How often had we been easily recepted by people?
You, less so than your father. But your father was also a lettered man coming through town, so the excitement generally outweighed the xenophobia. The idea of sending a letter to a loved one, here or there, within the expanse of Venelan, eclipses the idea of a foreigner. Though people were wary with your father, he had that way about him, that charisma and charm, that makes it hard to dislike him, till you got to know him at least. And then, that like slowly turned to disdain as the darker surface under the skin was revealed. But of course, you never stayed long enough for anyone to experience that familiarity that breeds discomfort. Never that.
There are people on the road that are open and receptive, but it is curious.
Do you think the little girl is going to be okay? Aelin says quieter, her voice becoming almost childish.
I nod. We're not far off. I think she has the best chances she could have. I'll give a slight smile.
How far? Till we arrive?
See, at this point, it's like, what, about 5 days?
4 or 5 days with good travel.
Given good weather, good travel. 4, maybe 5 at the most days.
Well, at least we're well provisioned.
I nod.
I guess we're doubly as provisioned, considering how little I've been eating. She blanches at that.
You kept breakfast down well.
For now. But I can give no guarantee for supper.
I nod.
We may have to stop along the road, she whispers, holding her stomach.
I nod.
I don't want to ask that of you, though. It's so dehumanizing.
I nod slowly. I can understand why you feel that.
My functions aren't my own.
They will be.
At least the one good thing the Irish Church did was to restore the great Venorian roads, she says, looking down to the track. Without these, it'd be long, hard treks. I couldn't imagine traveling anywhere.
I shake my head. The roads are a boon, certainly.
I'll give it to the urge. Their control of infrastructure has at least been remarkable. They've
No.
kept their cities in good repair. They've kept their poor fed. And they've done their best to keep beggars out of the streets. Although those people tend to join their faith. It is a faith of beggars, it seems.
I chuckle and nod.
Those less well off, the destitute, the poor, the infirm. The Irish suck them all up. Slowly turn them. Desperate people. Easy to change. To indoctrinate. She grimaces.
You're not thinking about becoming Irish on me, are you?
She spits. Shilach. No. I would rather be gored alive by a cabra. Your cart is caught up to theirs. Your animal a bit sturdier, less provisioned, its load less heavy. Should come alongside theirs, along the wide road. Gerland turns, grinning, a lift of his hand. Best slow your pace a bit, else you'll wear out that poor beast.
I'll give a look to the horse before me.
It's moving the best it can, panting slightly. A bit of a treble
ease
to
up
its
on
breath. Its chest heaves now and again.
I'll ease up on the horse.
Arlesi is walking. Gerland sitting beside the reins. You see that Velnet and Telly are in the back. The older girl wrapped around the younger, a blanket between the two of them to keep the young girl warm. Gerland looks to you. Aye. What do you know of what's been going on south? How was it in Daskis before you left?
I heard of a few cases of plague. And I think I saw the writing on the walls. Made my way out before it got too bad.
He nods. Well, in Enshire at least, the church botched any attempt at stemming it. They were too busy praying. You know what they're saying, right?
I shake my head. What's the word?
The higher effects of Moriel proclaimed the plague, a scourge of the disease of Ura's own flesh. Nonsense, that. A scourge. They're saying that the plague is a holy thing.
There's nothing holy about plagues.
Right there is a good bit of sense. But people are superstitious, you know? They
They're not.
say things that aren't there. They speak of Ailus and Arkelins and Uras. No, I ain't seen none of that. Not in my long years. What I do know is that my middling son, he was Irish. Good lad. He caught it. He was as Irish as they come. Poor boy. Was gone in a week. The man grimaces, looking down at the reins. Couldn't even bury him. Church took his body to be burned. That's what they've been doing.
I nod.
Proclaim any that were diseased to have been in conference against the whims of Ura. They've been burning the bodies. No burials permitted or allowed, even for the nobles, even for the rich. Everyone treated the same. For once. In death, I guess, all things are made equal.
I nod.
Lost a friend or two as well. Silversmith. Good chap. Always cheerful. Not Irish him, no. Never him. Still, was the best damn silversmith in all Venshire. Now he's moved on. Bless him. You lose anyone?
I nod slowly. Few good friends. My
He
father
nods at
was among
that.
one of the firsts.
He nods at that. I reckon I'm sorry for you, lad. It's a hard thing, that. Hopefully you don't have to bury too many more. Luckily, though, we're going to a remote place. Not much commerce in Nalwa. Them's being near to the, well, to the high north of the Eidwash. Don't get many boats that far north. Most run farther south. Some of the larger villages and towns along the length.
I nod.
We have the luck of being near the pinnacle. The steepest juncture, they call it.
Does it still have good river flow?
Yeah, I reckon. It splits off here and there. Well, I shouldn't say it splits off. I reckon that there are a few smaller water sources that find their way into it. Streams, smaller rivers, creeks. Nothing large, nothing substantial. All those are farther south, though.
I nod along. It sounds like a nice place.
He nods. Luckily, Nalwa hasn't been closed off. You know the Carcelians tried to close off Enshire when they got word of what was happening in Damascus. The church got involved and interfered. They made sure Enshire was wide open as a virgin's legs on her wedding night.
I shake my head.
Bad business, that.
Needless risk.
Aye. Needless. That defines the Irish.
Well, let's hope everything keeps further away.
He nods. As you're moving down the road, you feel a stark bump for a second as the cart is jostled. Aelin gives a small little sort of exclamation before gripping your thigh tightly at the shake. The horse strains as one of the wheels becomes rutted, finding its way into a small incline in the road.
I'll adjust course if I can. Carefully.
Too late for that. The wagon halts to an extent, the horse straining.
I'll bring it to a stop here, see if I can glance down at the wheel where it's stuck.
Gerlin stops as well, gets down. I have to keep better notice of the road. We'll need to get something under that wheel. You have a board or something?
Um,
You do not.
no. I could probably. Could I use the handle as of the axe as a good lever to pull it up?
You could, yes. You could leave it or not. That wouldn't be too difficult.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach in the back under the cover and pull out the axe.
Reach back over, grabbing the axe handle. You get down from the cart. You and Gerland strain, eventually managing to unrut the wheel. He looks to the next wheel. Best pull the course off a little bit. You'll get that one stuck next.
I'll keep my eyes on the road up ahead. See where the ruts go before I get back on.
You watch carefully. At this moment, Gerland makes his way back over to the cart and gets up himself. Then, continue down the road. He says. I remember the last plague. The one after the Perry. Lasted 3 years. Hope this one lasts less time than that.
I
But
nod.
that one was counteracted better. And it was less deadly. You know what they're calling this plague? The term they're giving it.
I shake my head. I left before much news got word.
They're calling it the Black Nail. You know why? I reckon you do. It's obvious enough.
I nod.
You wouldn't have been alive during the last one, would you? How old are you?
I'll pause.
We can't be more than your 20th name day. Somewhere around theirs, I would reckon.
My father never really kept track, but can only assume somewhere there.
He nods. You've been around my middling lad's age. Hmm. What do you plan to do in Nalba?
I look to Aelin.
She shrugs.
Look for a place to settle for a little while.
That shouldn't be too hard. I reckon there's someone able to give you space in a barn or in a cabin. Perhaps even some space on the floor of a house. What do you plan to do after all this is done? This plague business.
I suppose I'll keep on trying to find my long-winded dream.
He grins at that. That seems like a long plan, and not too sure of itself in the least, especially the way you put it that way.
I'll chuckle.
My Gemma, he wants to join the Navy. Wants to go to Red Tower. Wants to leave his old man behind. Not take up the business.
A shame that.
I could use hands like yours, he says, grinning. Mine are getting shaky, and our lessee is needed more and more for taking care of the children.
I'll nod slowly.
But I guess you're probably too grand for cobbler's work.
I'm willing to learn.
Reckon you I'm saying after all this business is done. It could be years, for all I know. And I reckon you'll pass on before then, find some other place. You seem restless enough.
I nod slowly. We'll see.
I guess. I will be shacked up for the winter at least, he says, pulling his cloak tighter about himself against the cold. At this moment, his son comes up beside the cart. Gammer.
Father, I noticed not too far from here, he says, pointing towards the side of the road, a bit north, a bit west. I saw cavalry tracks, he says, grinning. Garland looks down at him, thinking for a second. You think you saw cavalry tracks? Let's take a look and see what you really saw, he says, grinning. He stops the cart, getting off.
I'll bring mine to a stop as well.
Gammer and Gerlan make their way to the side of the road, then off it a bit, as Gammer points. Gerlan nods. Aye, that is cobber tracks. More than a few, too. Maybe 3, maybe 4. Small enough herd. He looks to the wood, to the west, and then grins, turning back to look at you. I reckon we might be... Well, it might be worth a stop, that. Fresh meat would be a boon. He turns to Gammer. Go fetch my bow. It's your move. Go ahead. You have to pause so long.
Oh yeah.
Focus.
I'm going to go and grab the bow from the cart as well.
Aelin looks at you. You don't know how to use that thing? She grimaces. Don't go. Stay. Please.
I'll look at the bow and then back to her. What kind of look does she have on her face?
Anxious. Her shaking isn't just the normal. Once you got down from the cart, her eyes watched you, following you.
I'll look to the bow again. Give a slow nod. I don't want to break it.
She nods. I doubt you'd break it. But you won't be much help. And the more that go, the stronger the scent. And you stink ill. It would smell you from a mile away.
A nod.
Gerlan looks to the two of you. Go ahead.
I'll stay, Lynn.
She nods, smiling softly. Me and Gamma are gonna go. See if we can track down some cobra. He grins. I'll even share a bit. Call it payment for the silver. After all, fresh meat's getting more and more expensive, I hear. He strings his bow,
to good use.
and carrying a few arrows in his hand, him and his son make their way towards the small wood not far from the road. Our lessee moves over to the cart to look up the two of you. I guess we'll be here for a while. Let's pull the carts off the side of the road. It's given towards the evening anyways. Ain't no problem making camp, she says, looking westward. Off the road, the thick of the wood is not far. I reckon we pull the carts up along there for some shelter if it rains.
I'll look over towards the edge of the thicket. Good place for camp.
She nods. And it's not too steep to get back on the road, she says, looking at the erosion on the sides. Not too steep at all. Might need a bit of pushing. Nothing Gamma and Gerland yourself can't help with.
A nod. Well, might as well get it set up then.
She nods. You pull the carts off the side of the road. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I do that.
Okay. And then, moving close underneath the starting of the canopy of the thicket, you gently set the horse to graze, tying it off after releasing it from the fashionings of the cart. Then Alan looks to you. Help me down. I don't want to sit up here.
I'll come over to the side and hold my hands out for her.
You help her down. Alessi looks to the two of you. What did you say your name was again? Lena, I think. What a pretty name. Lena. Aelin smiles and looks to you. It's actually my name. She whispers to you. Part of it, at least.
I smile and nod.
Yenna, though, would be more accurate. But I doubt you want to hear all that again. A bother.
Smile. It's not a bother.
Well, Lena, I have to hold Telly. You help me feed her. Aelin looks to you. Will you help me over?
I nod and smile, picking her up and bringing her over.
Arlessi takes the young girl, probably no more than maybe 3, 4, holding in her arms, swaddled in blankets, holding her close to her bosom. She gets together some of the porridge saved from the morning, and then Aelin helps feed the young girl with a wooden spoon. In the meantime, Vilnet comes over to you. Well, Carol, she says. She looks down at your knife, blushing. Have you ever had to use that?
I look down to the knife at my belt. That? Mostly just for animals.
She nods. I've seen my pa skin a cobra before. The leather's good, he says. Where have you been? Damascus, he said.
I
Where
nod.
else?
I've been up the river before. Lots of many small towns there and back.
She smiles softly at that. How far up the river?
I think for a moment.
You've been as far north as Ern. You've never made it to Brexfor before, though,
Oh yeah.
which is one of the large primary mining towns.
Yeah, that's out. That's a bit further.
Brexfor is north. It's actually improperly placed on the map, but ignore that. It's
Oh, okay.
actually to the northwest. It's up against the mountains.
Oh, I see.
The eastern range of Rom.
Okay. So not quite to Brexfor.
You've been to Ern. You've not been to Brexfor.
Yeah. Think about as far north as Ern.
Ern? Where's that? She says interestedly, her eyes lighting up.
Not quite as north as Brexfor.
She nods, thinking. How far west have you been? You seen Red Tower before?
I think I have been to Red Tower, right?
You've never been to Red Tower. One of the places your father avidly avoided.
So when we came out of Rom, we bypassed Red Tower.
You bypassed it? You heavily bypassed it.
Oh yeah. No, I've never quite been to Red Tower.
Oh. I was going to ask if the tower there is really red. They say it watches the southern archipelago.
It's possible.
They say it's made of a strange red stone. They say it once was quarried in the valleys of Rom, but, well, it was used up a long time ago. It was favored by the Venorian. I wanted to know if it was a myth or not. But seeing as you've never been through there, she shrugs. Maybe I'll have to go and see for myself someday.
Maybe.
She shakes her head.
If you do, I'll wish you luck.
I doubt I ever could. Ma needs me too much. Father's getting old. And Gamma is gonna go away. Where does that leave me, I guess? She looks down at your fingers. Strange scars. So uniform. Was that done on purpose?
I nod.
Why?
I got a very terrible frostbite once.
Frostbite? It gets cold enough in Venice for that? I guess you have been north, you said.
I nod. Up by the mountains.
Ah, I see. Are you
It,
feeling ill? You're so pale.
it's been a long couple of weeks.
You've been
For me and Lena.
you've been feeling shaky yourself. In fact, you've been feeling sick. Your nose running. The head cold's coming and going. That's been hard. Your mind constantly being plagued with everything you've gone through. Those thoughts never leaving. Ay, poor Lena. What happened to her leg? I don't remember if you said or not.
I shake my head. It's not something she likes to discuss.
I guess I'm prying. My apologies.
No, no worries. I take no offense. You and your folks seem like good people, though.
She looks at you shyly. Is she your wife?
A smile. Hopefully sometime soon.
I see. She looks strange at that. Bit of a downward look. Bit of a sad smile, then she nods. Well, the two of you do seem I don't know how to put it. You rely on each other.
I
Reminds me
nod.
of my own parents, he says, looking back at Orlesi and Aelin, who are feeding Telly.
They make a good pair, don't they?
They do, sometimes. Sometimes they fight and bicker. Ma, especially. Father's, well, he's a bit of a pushover.
I nod.
Sometimes she walks all over him, and he lets her. But I'm probably saying more than is right.
Sometimes I think maybe I have to find the right person for that.
She nods. I guess. Aelin looks over at the two of you. And then a strange look comes on her face you've never seen before. Similar still, though, to some others you've seen. A narrowing of the eyebrows, the biting of the lower lip. Her eyes narrow. She looks very shrewd. She looks to Velnat, then back to you again.
I'll give Leyland a smile. No.
She looks away from you quickly. Back to Telly.
Well, I appreciate the conversation, but
I think I'm going to try and gather some more materials while we're here.
Vilnet nods. No, I should probably be helping Ma anyways.
I know. I'll walk over to Aelin.
Alan pointedly stares off away from you.
I'm going to fetch some more foraging. Need some more wood.
Oh,
I know.
alone?
Just at the edge of the thicket here. Not too far.
Alright. Okay.
I'll look to Telly.
The girl is sleeping now, as Arlessi holds her. She passes her off to Vilnet, the younger woman taking the child.
I was Telly.
Bad. Cold. She has the shakes. Almost as
I know.
bad as me. Aelin's eyes go downcast as she stares at her lap. Could we start a fire soon? I'm so cold.
I'll nod. I'll use some of the prepared tinder and wood stock to get a fire going and then go and replenish supplies.
You make your way, starting the fire near to Aelin. Once you do, you then go off, begin to forage. I will assume mostly for wood, tinder,
Any
whatever
forest
else you
roots,
can find.
tubers, mushrooms, yeah, anything else? Perhaps some edibles.
Oh. I think you gotta go to Mirkar for those. Go ahead and roll.
Any bonus?
Your foraging bonus, yeah. It was a 10, I think.
Yeah.
Currently have 2 rerolls. Would you like to take a reroll?
I will take a reroll.
Okay. You begin to look around. It's a little while as you go here and there. Gather tinder. Gather moss. That. But you can go deeper into the wood. Not too deep. You find some mushrooms. The caps are beautiful, deeply hued, gold and brown. The base, the stem, little soft tendrils growing up around the cap, like many small arms caressing its surface. You recognize it soon enough. Mirma, it's called. Mirma are safe to eat. They're cooked cleanly through and washed. They're a bit hardy, a bit earthy, but they're worth the effort. You go about the work of slowly procuring as many as you can, folding them away in your cloak as you do so. Several handfuls. Looks like this wood is rife with them. Once you're done, you return back to the camp, to the campfire. Aelin's sitting near to it, or Lessie, Deli and Velnet as well. It looks like Gammer and Gerlan have not yet returned. Velnet and Arlessi are talking, but Aelin's being quiet, sitting alone on the other side of the fire, away from where the wind would blow the smoke into her face. She hears you coming and turns to look at you. a strange look in her eyes, her hands shaking. She seems nervous and very on edge. You're back?
I nod and smile.
That
Don't
felt
make
like
a rush.
forever.
It was only a little while. I'll smile.
It didn't feel like a little while, she says, turning as best she can to face you.
I'll kneel next to her.
Instantly, she brings up a hand as you kneel next to her, placing it on your hip. She seems to ease a bit. She touches you.
I'll set down the wood and the kindling near the fires. That way it can be dried and used later. And I'll pull out one of the mushrooms from my cloak.
She looks at it, nose wrinkling a little bit.
Have you ever had them?
She shakes her head. No.
They're quite good in the stomach. Hearty food.
She nods. I guess
Once
I have
they're
to. Oh.
once they're washed up and clean, they're quite good.
She shrugs. Do we have anything to wash them with?
A nod. Basket and some running and a fair bit of water.
She nods again. Okay. Can I help?
A nod.
Well, she says, lifting an eyebrow. Are you just gonna sit there?
Let's go back to the cart. I'll bring over some water. Bring over the basket. We can wash them together.
Away from the fire. Alright, I guess.
No, we'll bring the water to the fire.
But you just said
Oh, I'm going to go to
do
the
it by
cart.
the cart. So you're going to the cart. You
A
said
nod and
we'd
smile.
go to the cart.
Did I? Oh,
Yes, I think.
I shake
I
my
don't
head.
know.
I must have misspoke. I'm sorry.
She grips your hip a little tighter. Don't take too long. Please.
I shake my head. I won't.
She gets a soft smile. You turn and make your way to the cart. You know that her eyes are on you the whole way. There. You grab what you need and make your way back. You and her go about the business of washing them. All the dirt. Cleaning the skin thoroughly. Removing the mucus from the gill membrane under the cap. And then they're ready. Cooking them is good, but they can be eaten without that.
I'll look over the stock that we have for them.
Say again?
I'll look over the stock of them that we have. How much was I able to forage?
About 3 handfuls.
That's not bad.
For mushrooms, no, it's not.
No. We could probably smoke some of them to keep them preserved longer. Have some of them for with supper tonight.
She nods. I'd prefer anything we eat be cooked.
A nod.
It's not that I don't trust your skills, just the heat would be good.
A nod. It warms the chest. Keeps the body warm too.
Thank you for speaking the obvious, Elle. She smiles.
I'll lean over to where I have some of the tinder drying out. Get a couple of skewers.
The two of you sit by the fire, cooking, eating. Not much long later, he watches Gammer and Gerlan make their way out of the wood. His bow is slung across his shoulder. Between the two of them, they're carrying a medium-sized cabra. They bring it over near to the fire and begin gutting it. Aelin looks away, staring down at your lap as they go through the process. They burn the entrails, those which aren't usable. The rest is cut away from the bone. And Gerlan looks to the fire. Not large enough to smoke the meat, but with the amount of us here, I reckon it'll last maybe 2-3 days. No reason we have to be miserly about it. Plus, we don't have the time to smoke it properly if we want to make our way to Nalwa. I reckon we cook a good bit of the left flank now. Unless he nods. The meat will be good. She turns to Erlen. Lena, would you like to hold Telly? Aelin smiles, almost beaming for a second as she nods. You'll want to hold her on her lap, since your arms are trembling horrible. Aelin nods, and Arlessi brings the little girl over, still asleep in her wrappings. Aelin holds her, looking down at her, smiling.
I'll smile as I watch Aelin. I'll get some more wood to the fire to help it cook.
She seems very contented, almost happy. Arlessi stands and makes her way into the wood. I'm gonna go do my business, and I'll be back. The woman walks off. Gerlan turns to you then. How much you know about butchering?
Have Gomer and I ever butchered a cabra before?
You've butchered many things before, cobra the least of it. Cobra are quite common.
Okay.
Akin them to deer, more the size of a goat. 3 horns, all of those twisting around their head. The middle horn twists forwards. The ones on the side are sharp, corkscrew shaped. The creature has a long face, sturdy core. Its hooves are sharp. They can be quite dangerous.
A fair
They
bit.
feel. She nods, or he nods. Well, here, help me divide all this up. Help me with the hide, too. If we can get that head off, get the brain out. Maybe tan this leather. Good leather, he says, nodding. If we treat it properly, at least. It'll need to be scraped and brained. I got the time, I guess.
I'll come on over and get my knife ready to start butchering the cabra.
The 3 of you make an easy work of the butchering of the cabra. Quick, efficient. It's all split up. Then some of it is placed to roast near to the fire. The left hind leg, large, meaty. The flesh slowly crisping by the fire after it's skinned. The skin is taken off almost expertly by Garland, who then cuts off the head, carving into the skull, breaking it in places. He pulls out the brain, which he mixes with ash, with water. Then he begins to rub that paste over the hide after he scrapes it, working it in as best he can. Or Leslie comes back, takes Telly from Aelin. It's your move.
I'll sit back down next to Aelin after the butchering's done.
She puts her hand around her waist and leans against you. Easier for her to sit that way. Once the meat is done, it's shared among the group. Bits of it cut away. Aelin eats slowly, carefully. And both of you enjoy the meal of fresh meat with some provided bread. When it's all done, she turns to you. She whispers, I wanted to talk.
A nod.
About it all.
A nod.
But I don't want you to coddle me. Do you understand?
I slowly nod.
She gets a strange look on her face, biting her lip, closing her eyes. Then she sighs. They're really all gone, aren't they?
They are.
I guess there's parts of it we can't talk about here, she whispers, looking at the group. Not with the chance of them overhearing, at least.
No.
How do you think the Duchessa will react?
I shake my head.
She deserves closure, doesn't she?
She does. It's hard news to hear.
It is. Harder to have lived.
A nod. Word will probably find its way back to Damascus.
Most likely. But what word? Stellenport is gone, remember?
A nod.
Even the church might be hard-pressed to find it. Nearly burned to the ground. Their damn chapel still stands.
We can send word to her at some point soon.
She nods. That would be wise. Before she starts sending search parties far and near. You know she'll be unrelenting.
A nod.
We want to avoid that. She loved Davine more than her own children. Her precious adopted daughter.
She did. When we settle, I'll find a way to get word to her.
She nods. Assuming Damascus isn't all dead now.
A nod. Damascus seems to be faring better than Enshire.
The Jess is smart.
Helen nods. She is. She really is. She pulls herself a bit closer up against you. It was all real, wasn't it? She blurts out quietly. Every little bit of it.
As you said, Lynn, you don't want me to coddle you.
Well then,
I'm not sure everything that you remember, but most of it was
most
unbelievably real.
or
Some of it
all. L?
some of it was confusing. I'll shake my head. I'm not entirely sure what was happening, but yes.
If all of that was real, she whispers, then what else might be real? Have you thought about that for a second?
I
You let
know.
that slip into your mind?
I have.
What are possibilities? Dark and bright. Ill. You know how this changes things, don't you?
I nod.
We've been shown the truth. We can't unsee it now. Ill?
I don't think the truth's done with us either.
What do you mean by that? It's not over. She shudders, trembling.
I think everything that happened at Stellenport is over. We're getting away from all of that. That, at least, isn't following us. But I think once you've seen the truth, perhaps things like that don't hide as well. They don't hide behind faith,
She
behind
nods.
denial.
We're far past the point of denial. We're past that now. That means that Ill. How is it that you come in possession of such a thing? She says.
It's been a while. Under my breath, I'll lean into her head and whisper very, very quietly. Do you remember when I told you about the Valley of Rom?
She nods. Yes. The valley.
There was something there.
Something?
Something similar to what was in that temple.
She shudders then, blanching, her other hand coming around her side to hold herself. She's unsteady.
I'll hold her tight.
Something dark.
Or bright. It's from our perspective, it's hard to say. It didn't hurt me.
From her perspective. However, or whyever, you can do what you can. It's the only reason we're alive right now.
I nod.
My abilities aside. She shudders. how shared the secrets
I nod.
freely given. A simple equation that where what is offered must be equal to or greater than that which is sought. Very often, that which is given must be greater. I don't want to think what would have happened if I gave less. What might have occurred. But at the same time, I'm ashamed till, because if I had given it sooner, if I had acted sooner,
Then
then maybe Vian,
all of us only
she
acted
would.
as quick as we could. Then
She trembles and begins to sob, burying her head in your chest. Arlessi looks to you, then looks away. She turns then to Gerlan. I think it's time for bed, Gerlan. Gerlan nods. Let's move a bit away from the fire so we don't get scorched. Felnet, you stay with Telly tonight. Give me and Arlessi some peace. Felnet nods as Aelin sobs against you. The four of them and Telly begin to set up their rolls, blankets, cloaks, and whatnot. Aelin, oblivious to everything else that's going on, has begun to gasp.
I'm going to try and soothe her. Then
She begins to hiccup, that common way she has whenever she becomes somewhat hysterical. She doesn't speak. She just trembles and cries, pushing against you, until there's nothing left to give. All of her tears and snot used up. And then weakly, she just holds her head against your chest. It's your move.
I'm just gonna hold her tenderly against my chest.
You hold her
Patting
for a
her on the
while.
head.
And then she looks up at you. Eyes red from weeping. Face pale. Cheeks flushed with the cold. Ill. I need help again, she says, almost wailing in a whisper.
I nod.
She looks ashamed, lowering her eyes, not meeting your gaze.
Do you have to go?
She nods. Help me, please. Please.
I'll lift her up and bring her over.
You carry her a bit outside of the view of the campsite itself, and then, holding her, you wait. She cries as she did. She sobs, cries. She goes about her business, never meeting your eyes, her body shaking. When she's done, you help her place the period wrappings back around her. These are less stained than they were before, the blood flow seemingly halting. It's been maybe 3, maybe 4 days now. Hopefully soon the flow will stop. You help her back up, make your way back to the campsite, holding her. Lassie is watching you as you walk back out of the woods. A tender look as she looks between the two of you. Aylin's eyes closed. She is pushed up against her chest, holding around her neck and waist.
Lynn,
She looks up at you, blinking softly. Tired.
how is your left leg feeling?
She grimaces. I want to sleep, Bill.
I'm not.
I can barely keep my eyes open.
That's alright. Let's get you warm. Tomorrow, we're going to work on your leg.
She nods. If I can stand. I feel so weak, yo.
I'm not. That's okay. You have to start somewhere.
No, like sick weak. Not. It's not just that I'm growing weaker. It's that physically I don't think I can stand, even with help. She grimaces.
I'm not. Are you feeling sickly?
She nods. Please, blanket, help
I'll
me
bring
down by the fire.
I'll help her down by the fire, feeding a little bit more into it so it keeps going through the night. Then I'll go and fetch the blankets.
You go. Fetching the meager blankets you have, furs and such. And then, wrapping her knees near to the fire, you find that she's already fallen asleep. Her body curled up in a strange position. Arlessi watches the two of you still, as Gerlan prepares their bedding. How is she doing? She seems in a grim way, whispers the woman.
I nod. We lost a very, very close friend as well. A few of them.
Arlessi nods. Horrible thing that. No person should have to go through that.
No.
When we arrive to where we're going, I have a decent amount of skill working wood. I make the forms, she says, for the shoes we cobble. I could fashion her some crutches. That wouldn't be too difficult.
I'd appreciate it.
She nods. Well, it's not that much of a thing. Doubt it would take too much of my time. And I think that it would be a bigger boon to you than you realize. Once you get her up around, moving, no matter how it's done, she'll find a bit of confidence. That can be a strong thing. Nonetheless,
I believe that.
I'll make it an hour soon enough. No doubt of
Now,
that.
you've been good folk to us.
Aye, we've been reasonable folk. It's other folk that are unreasonable. Less than good. Too little kindness in the world, I think. We're older. We've been through enough. We were your age once too, and we've been through a plague before. We know how this goes. Best not to eat up those around you. And you have nothing to lean on when it gets bad.
I nod slowly to that.
Get some rest. You talk too much. She grins. Hey,
I'll chuckle.
old fool. Is my blankets ready? Gerlin growls. Alessi laughs, getting up, moving away from the fire. Aelin stirs, trembling in her sleep. Small little moans escaping her lips.
I'll bundle myself up in with her.
You pull her against you. Warm. Warm she is. And so soft. You feel your body press against hers. If you were better off, you would almost be excited to be in this position. If she was better off as well, you would feel less ashamed at the enjoyment of what you were experiencing. But, nonetheless, you feel yourself slowly drifting off. The sound of the fire dying. The sound of the wind fading. Then, at last, comfortably, Phelan pressed against you. You slip away and into dream. You fade down into it. That long, strange descent. And then, in that moment, your eyes open and you behold the world about.
You are walking along a long stretch of shallow cliffside. The wind is loud, howling against the cliffs. The sound of the surf below, comforting somehow. You feel alive. The smell of the salt, all of it mingling together. And a strange feeling, an awareness, a sharp acuity that rises to the surface. The sounds of the ocean waves mix with the sound of Savare's own thoughts, an excitement running through him, exaltation, an expeditious manner as he looks up the side of the cliff, his eyes following along the steep incline to a small shrine that sits atop the hill overlooking the bay. It's old, sturdy, its pillars arching up into a strangely shaped roof over a large metal bowl of blackened cast iron.
I can feel you there, he says. Who is it this time? Naveen or Risha?
Greetings, big brother.
Ah, I see. He pulls his cape closer about himself as water sprays up from the surf. You are the last one, then. He looks down to the great bay of Alaria as he walks up the hill. He's younger, lither, no fat on his form, and his pace is easy. I have waited some time to speak with you again.
It's been some time for me as well.
But which one are you? He grins. You sound as though you are the younger, not the older.
No, I
And,
still have much time before me.
and I guess you have spoken with me before then? Older and younger. A strange thing that, isn't it?
I nod.
We are
A straight.
caught in the web of time. He grins. I haven't even seen my 20th name day yet.
And you must still be fairly young yourself.
I must say I prefer speaking to you now than then, if that makes sense in its own way. He grins. Tell me, why do I grow fat? Or is that a secret that I must uncover for myself, as all of you say? It is not the way to discuss and disclose the portents of what could happen, for the sake of possibly making it come to pass.
I nod.
Locking oneself strangely and pathetically to one line of logic. Is it not said that within the reading of the Eluic, we are to take things only as tentative suggestions and not requirements of our path?
I nod. I have seen myself in several situations and futures and possibilities, but none are exactly mine.
He nods. I have seen myself in strange lands, wondrous places which you can hardly even imagine. Unless, of course, you have seen them too. He grins. The place where the grass is as dark as night, and the hills rise up like mounds of water as they ripple across the land, shifting and changing as easily as the direction of the wind.
I've seen the grasses.
You have. Good. He looks to the ancient shrine atop the ascent. Eolinra's shrines are not permitted within the Elevar. Instead, they are built around it, to protect it. She is separate from the other 11. Closest to Althera she was, they say. But when it came to the dealings of the other 11, ever was she lonesome. Her temples, just as her form, must be separated.
And is this where you have brought me?
He shrugs. There are 7 shrines in all, around the Elevar. This one is closest to my Havare, the shrine of Visenti, the least well kept and visited of the Aronoric shrines, I'd say. People
I
tend to
nod.
avoid the schemer. They see him as bad luck. I would tend to agree, personally.
I must as well. My experience has been ill with him.
Ah, so it is as some of us have predicted. I know it. The Aronari are real. Then what else is real? He says, looking at the iron bowl, peering into the flame burning within it, a beacon lit across the bay.
What else exists beyond what we could predict, brother?
Perhaps. I know what I saw last night, he says, looking at the fire. A blue flame. He moves over to the iron cast bowl, looking down at the long, burning fuel which has been left within it. It is lit once every morning and once every night. And if it is windier or rainier, then a person is set a priest of Ilnir, one at each shrine, to keep it burning. He looks down at the heavy cast iron. He brings out a beautiful gleaming silver stone held on a metal chain. Do you know what this is?
I'll look at it.
Similar to the one in the dream before. Ara Ilun, he says. Do you understand its significance?
What is it?
I have read in Eluic texts, though do not tell Turian that I have been looking at such, he says, grinning, a boyish wonder on his face, that our Aluns are sacred to the Seven. They are worn by each member to symbolize their allegiance to their mistress. Arun itself, he says, looking up at the sky, peering at Oyuna, is the darker sister. She was a gift given, if I remember correctly. Who was it again? He says, thinking softly to himself. It wasn't Pharaoh. Who was it? Ah, Savare. Your Primarian lore is lacking. He shrugs. Nonetheless, it was given as a gift to Yuna by one of the other Primari. A beautiful jewel. Do you know the other name of Aaron?
What is it?
Mirame, he says, grinning. Do you know the meaning of the word?
Mirame. I've heard it before.
Ah, Ame. Or Ame. That which is beloved.
I know.
And then Mirch, to heal. That beloved thing which brings healing. Other Aloons possess a similar property. Within the mysticism of the Eluic principles, they are a powerful binding object, one which radiates the power of that gift. Something beloved, something which has the properties of healing about it. So that why do they represent Ealinra, do you reckon?
So that she may heal.
But how is that healing done?
I can only assume through violence.
A strange dichotomy, is it not, brother? That such things are stretched in such a way. Ealinra heals through the same way a tender of a fine tree, cutting away wilt, pruning branches for the better health and longevity of that tree. Ealinra prunes those things which would otherwise hurt and damage the lesser dream. Thus is the Ara Alun also a symbol of power, a symbol of violence and healing. Strange this. These,
Very duplicitous.
yes, this synthesizing of concepts. Anvir Aethrin told me, he says, reaching under his robe to produce a silver candle. The candles with a silver wick are placed at these shrines and burned in honor of the seventh service. He lights the candle from the bowl and sets it down next to it in a small holder
a circle of stone wrought out in the rock. And then he puts the necklace around his own neck. He begins to chant in an old Mercari verse. You know it, the Sephril verse, a hymn, but he only chants the first few lines, the best well known, as he picks up the candle and holds it. Nothing happens. He grimaces. Come on, reveal your secrets. Again, he chants the verse, holding the candle. Frustratedly, he puts it back down, kicks the bowl. Then he gives a yelp as pain runs through his foot, chagrined. Cass! He curses. I knew it was too good to be true, but I know what I saw. There was a flame, burning blue and bright over the bay. Why won't it show itself to me now?
Over the bay.
He nods. I saw it from the Havare last night. He looks to the flame. And then there is a change. A smell in Savari's nostrils. You smell it too. Hot. Sweet. And with it comes a Sironic song. Beautiful. Filled with a myriad of calming notes. Getting louder and louder. Savari stiffens. And then looks around. No. He says, no. No. You see the world slowly beginning to break. Quickly, he looks to the ground around the shrine. A bit of comfort rolls over him as he sees the Sephril marks there. Damn it! Shala! He thinks in words. Do you hear it? Do you smell it?
It comes, brother.
Unveiling. Malmir. That's how strange Eastern folk would call it. You watch as the world breaks. Nebulous beauty spreading across the sky, etching into the air, draining everything of its color and form. The Sephril marks begin to flare a deep blue as they react to the unveiling's presence. Ilnir, what if the circle is damaged? He says quickly, looking to the marks, moving his hands across them, standing close to the flame. Gets down on his hands and knees and begins searching, looking for any mark of disrepair, all the meanwhile swearing under his breath. Sure move if you would like.
I'll look as well.
You see no damage. This is calming. But the song is becoming louder in your own mind, almost numbing. The flame in the bowl gets weaker and weaker, fading as the unveiling gets stronger, till it is nothing more than a flickering of a candle. The several marks glow a deadly blue, and then everything goes silent as a new noise breaks through the veil. You hear it at first, a humming, a singing, discordant, a man's voice this time now, strange, and then speaking. Foolish boy, walking alone, but he is not alone. Does he know he was followed? He does not, he does not. Too focused on a task he does not understand. Shall I tell him? Savare turns, looking into the unveiling, startled. You yourself feel very uncomfortable. No, too young still. A man steps through the unveiling and into the light of the Sephril about. He's strange.
Tall, skeletal, thin, his graying hair wildly curling about his head, his clean-shaven face thin, his eyes so deep-set, almost mad with emotion. His body ripples and stiffens as it steps across the sephiral flame, as though in pain, but then he relaxes. Visenti, that makes sense. Your family is always doing foolish things. Savari gives out a gasp in his mind, and out loud. What is this man? He says to you. How did he do that? Walk so casually through it. Should he not be mad?
It is not his first foray into it.
Savari blinks, looking at him. And then the man coldly looks down at Savari.
What if you had not made it to the shrine in time? Do you wish for madness to take you?
Savari's mind is going numb with the sound of the song. You yourself feel your own thoughts dampened but protected by his own. Its gentle caress numbing everything.
Boy, Visenti, focus. Listen not to her chorus, but instead my voice.
The man turns away to look into the flame.
He hears it. He hears the song, just like you, but he cannot know that, what it means. The secret behind the tenebrous chorus, the sorrow of that which is forgotten.
Savari is bleakly thinking in his own mind.
What is going on? I feel so strange. It calls to me,
He says, looking to the unveiling.
Calls.
Stand firm, brother.
Beautiful her voice.
The man steps over to the flame and puts his hand over it, his lips moving softly, forming strange words, and then everything goes deaf, even the song itself, dying to a shrill scream which then vanishes on the air. The man turns back over, smiling at both of you.
Several marks, blue flame, broken spear, ancient song, twisted horns of a dead goddess, and the dreams between. All of this mean nothing. Ravings of a mad prophet.
Savari's mind clears as he looks at the blue fire, his eyes opening wide as he stares.
How did you do that? He does not yet understand. Still a dreamer, still dreaming, still bound by blood. No, do not speak. He may hear. Ears are open, eyes watch.
Savari edges away from the man, towards the flame to peer into it.
Ilnir, look. The Eluk fire, so lively. He did this.
He did.
He turns back to look at the man.
He's an Elu then. That was Ilui Ellen. The silent words. I've seen it a few times, but never from the mouth of one who is not of our blood.
And then he feels a hand on his shoulder and tenses, his mind going blank as he turns.
No, peer not. Peerless that flame. Clever Visenti. The necklace. That is correct. The candle, however, is wrong. There must be blood in the wax. One is not strong enough. More are needed. Come. After this, I show you. A Liern. That is what you are now. Your mind, divided, may still understand.
Savarian looks into the man's eyes, and there you see yourself reflected.
Savari blinks,
and you feel yourself twisting within the man's gaze, falling into a gray pool of endless depths. shifting, altering, and then rising suddenly. The sound of everything fading as gently you come awake within the dream. Your eyes open. Aelin is shaking, trembling, eyes open wide, biting down on her lip. She looks at you. Ill. She trembles. Ill. Her arms begin to shake violently as they begin to seize. She closes her eyes tight, clenching against the pain.
I'll hold her in close.
Her body convulses a few times. You pull her against you, legs wildly kicking and tensing, her entire body going stiff. She gives a small little scream under her breath, which becomes strangely distorted, a warmth rushing through you then. And then she relaxes.
I'm here.
She's sweating. She looks up at you, shaking, her eyes narrowed. Ill?
I nod. You're
I
back.
want it to stop. It hurts. It's still dark. Early in the morning, everyone else sleeping. The snores of Gerlan loud. She pushes against you under the blanket.
Did it wake you?
She shakes her head. Did what wake me?
Your shakes.
She shakes her head. I've been awake for a while, she says sickly, placing her head against your neck. She sits there, breathing heavily. And then, after a while, she looks up at you. Ill.
I look down at her. Then,
Will you still love me?
smile and nod.
Even if I'm fading. Even if you know you might have to let me go.
I'll hold my hand at the back of her head, bring her in tight to me. You're not going to fade away.
I feel like I'm drifting though. Everything hurts. And I feel so weak every day.
I know that.
I don't want to die like this.
You're not going to.
I feel like I am.
It's going to be painful.
Why does it have to hurt so much? Why? 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 She sobs.
You're
I
going to heal.
just want to feel okay. I don't want much. Just that. Just normalcy.
I nod. That's what you'll get.
She shakes her head. I'm far past being normal ill. We both know that. We're both past that. After what I've seen, after what we've done, I am a cripple ill. How can I be normal?
We're going to be making a new normal.
A
We're going
new
to be
normal.
moving. Yes. You're going to heal. And your leg
She nods.
It won't be the same.
How could it be?
A nod. But you'll be walking nonetheless.
Use what is given, I guess.
A nod.
They slowly feel more like my words, less like yours.
They're good words.
Yes. She looks up at the stars in the night sky. The morning sky, it should be, sad.
It's good that you take them to heart.
She pushes up against you then, hand reaching up behind your neck. She pushes her face against yours, kissing you gently.
I'll kiss her back.
She locks her lips around yours, her hand wrapped about your shoulder, other around the back of your neck, pushed against you under the blankets, the morning. She kisses you again and again, trembling. You'll still want me. You'll still love me.
You're my Arame.
She smiles. Well, technically, she chokes. Technically, no. Not yet. That comes with a test. She grins sadly.
You'll have to think of a good one then.
She shrugs. How about we start with what's attainable? Hey, Elevar.
I nod.
Make it to Elevar. You and me. Your brothers. Family.
I'll smile and nod.
That would be enough, Il. No great quest. No great beast to fell. Great journeys to take. Just to Elevar.
Then I shall bring you to Elevar.
I know you will. Whether in body or in spirit. We'll make it together.
I nod.
She looks up to the sky. The time of Aveen. She smiles sadly. But how can it ever be the time of Aveen again? She has passed, moved on, from this dream to the next.
I nod.
She looks up to the sky. We'll watch it this time, together, you and I.
Yes.
She pushes against you,
I'll wrap an arm around her.
soft body pressed against yours, breasts pushing up against your chest. She kisses your neck then, softly.
I'll kiss her on the top of the head and hold her close.
The two of you hold each other. You watch the shades of the sky shift and change, colors becoming brighter, more vibrant. And in the east, you see the painting of the horizon. Oranges, yellows, and pinks
spreading across the cold sky. She watches it. I guess we'll always have a vein, in a way.
And not. Each morning, we can still see her.
She nods. I love you, Ilnir.
I love you, Valen.
Smiles softly. Il,
Yes.
when I'm feeling better, will you help me with my leg?
And not.
She smiles. I would love that.
I'd be glad to.
And I can't promise you that I'm feeling any better. Just a different kind of bad. Maybe this will be easier to throw aside. It's so strange. I should be feeling miserable, but the misery mixes with the happiness. It's so bizarre.
And not. It's a strange time for us.
She nods. And then again, she gently pushes against you, hands moving down to your leg and across your back. She trembles, but it's not quite as weak as before. She shudders then. It's the cold of the morning. They'll wake soon, she says quietly. She leans in, kisses you on the mouth again. I like that. I like that a lot.
You like kissing me?
Yes. I never thought it could be so enjoyable. I just thought it was strange. I never understood why.
I'll lean in to kiss her.
Lean in. Sound of the cold morning wind rushing across both of you. Her hair a mess across her face. She gently pulls it away. As you kiss her, you feel her wriggling against you. A strange sensation. She half trembles, half half nestles. She closes her eyes, shuddering but in a different way through her shoulders and chest. The two of you intertwine together. She looks up at you, smiling. Sail, sail.
I'll smile at her as well.
I feel. She blushes. Very strange. She closes her eyes, biting her lip. I think I'm falling for you. In
Oh.
ways I wasn't thinking of before. She blushes.
I'm happy to hear that.
I bet you are. Ilnir Visenti. She puts a hand on your waist then, moving it down your hip. The warmness come to your navel, your face. A blush rises to the surface. Not now, though. She gives a small, sad little grin, looking to the forms huddled not far from the fire. Not here. No. She looks back up to the rising sun. I I. She shakes her head. Never mind.
It's okay then.
No, I feel ashamed. Why should I feel such strange joy when others have moved on from beyond that?
I'll gently pet the back of her head.
Somewhere within the camp, the others stir, coming to wakeness. Aelin turns one last time to look at you, smiling softly, and then gently she moves in, kissing your ear, blowing hot air across it. I love you, Ilnir.
I'll smile and kiss next to her ear too.
She
I love
trembles at that. Go ahead.
I love you too, Aelin.
She seems to worm for a second, pushing against you. A strange motion to her body. You feel, for the first time in a while, alertly and acutely aware of your own comfort. Something that you almost felt had abandoned you until this moment. This, mixed with the rising of the sun and the cool breeze flowing across the camp, fills you again with that so nostalgic and long forgotten sense. That most poignant sense of adventure. You're on the road again, at last. And that is a wonderful thought. And that is where we will end that. For now.
End of life.